Deputy President David Mabuza is due to answer questions in the National Council of Provinces today after recovering from ill health. Let's cross live to that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
President. Honorable Matibe, a follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks to the Deputy President for that response. We also wish you good health, Deputy President. Deputy President, while recognizing and appreciating the efforts that you are putting in place, we really understand restructuring ESCOM will not be an easy task to do. The follow-up question is that has government or the political task team set a time frame for various phases that you have put in place, Deputy President? Just to say how long the optimization phase will go, the stabilization phase, as well as the growth phase. The reason we are saying that, Deputy President, the issue of ESCOM is a serious concern to community members in our constituencies, because as we speak, you might find even now, some of the members might not be able to participate because of load shedding. So we just want to check whether there are clear time frames so that whenever we do oversight in our select committees, we are able to do oversight and not remain in a timeless restructuring purpose where we are not able to measure the progress in relation to each phase. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matibe. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Chairperson. The timeline can take up to 2022. We hope by that time we'll have completed the restructuring of the whole entity, dividing into three entities. We must apologize for the continued disruptions in terms of energy supply. This is because of our maintenance challenges. Our people will understand, and honorable members will understand, that we are dealing with a very old fleet, and from time to time, it presents operational problems. We are confident that by the introduction of Medupi and Upsile into the grid, I think Medupi will be operational probably at the end of the year, if everything goes well. Gradually, it will reduce the pressure on the generation of electricity. The further introduction of the IPPs will further reduce the pressure that we are facing currently and the disruptions of load shedding. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Deputy President. We'll now move over to Honorable Almond Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was wondering whether Honorable Matibe could have predicted that this question will come a day after load shedding stage 2 and 4, because this opened up a whole can of worms on this question today. Deputy President, yesterday ESCOM announced, due to the continuing severe generation supply constraints as a result of multiple unit breakdowns, ESCOM will continue to implement load shedding from 8 to 10. That was yesterday. And then I quote, with the unreliable and aged generation infrastructure, together with a number of risks on running units, there is a high possibility or probability that additional stages of load shedding may be implemented at short notice. And I end the quote there. Deputy Minister, President, while restructuring of ESCOM is underway, like you said, South African lose and the economy loses billions owing to load shedding. Now you say our people will understand, but they don't understand why we had stage 2 and stage 4 yesterday. The South African public also need to be able to brace themselves. And I would like to know from you, Deputy President, are higher levels of load shedding imminent with the coming weeks?
Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We have said this over and over again that our fleet, our power stations are very old. So the maintenance of this power station presents a problem. From time to time, given the pressure that is exerted on them, they fail. Some units will fail, and the leadership of ESCOM came out openly to say, yes, we're not going to avoid load shedding as we implement routine maintenance and as we deal with disruptions of failure of certain units in the system. But South Africans must be confident that we're going to get out of this problem. Why am I saying so? Is that there's a new build program. Now, the build program allows the introduction of additional capacity. Now, this additional capacity will come from Medupi and Kusile. We're going to see Medupi coming into operation, into the system. But we're also opening another window of IPPs that will come. We are expecting more than 2,000 megawatts that will come from that direction. And we hope that will stabilize the pressure that is on the system and allow us to fix these old power stations and give ourselves time to fix them. Some probably will be taken out of the system and be replaced. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, President. We now move on to a supplementary question from Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon to the Deputy President. Deputy President, we've heard now you speaking about the new model, the turnaround strategy. South Africans must remain confident because you're going to add so many more megawatts. But on hindsight, once you add, another plant breaks. So South Africans are really, really tired at this point of hearing from you that we must remain confident and accept that everything's old. You should have known that the plants are old and started long ago. But my question to you is, this turnaround strategy and this new model, does it include the revival of the nuclear deal with Russia? And if so, what is the budget that has been set aside for nuclear generation and over what period? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We have said this again and again that we have got an old fleet, and this old fleet was not adequately maintained. We have accepted that. In the recent past, the fleet was not adequately maintained. That is why currently it's giving us continuous problems. We've accepted that, and the only way to get out of this maintenance problem is to introduce new units that will bring fresh energy into the system. And these are the two power stations and the IPPs. So I'm confident that as days goes by, we are going to be out of this problem. As we introduce Medupi, as we introduce Sile, our energy supply will stabilize. As we introduce the IPPs, there will be abundant energy to meet our requirement and our demand. The question on the budget, I am not very sure of the figures. And the IRP has indicated all the set of options available before us as a country. We are going to go into gas, we are going to go into nuclear. We are not really discarding any options before us. You can go into the IRP and see all these options. But as and when money is available to implement a few options, maybe gas will come before nuclear. Who knows? Depending on the availability of money, I think the country's energy landscape is going to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next supplementary question is from Honorable Smith. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. It's actually quite discouraging, the response by the Deputy President, that we will see as we go and as money come available. Yeah. Well, Chairperson, I would like to know, we frequently get a generic response when we ask about the nuclear deal. That is, South Africa will acquire it as it can be afforded by the country. Now, as the Deputy President just said, when money comes available, because obviously we are not in a good financial state currently. So I would like to know from the Deputy President, can you please tell us what is considered affordable for South Africa in the current fiscal climate? Thank you,
Honorable President.
Thank you very much. Well, in view of the challenges that we are facing, the COVID-19 has taken us backward. Our financial situation is not in a good state. Therefore, it will be very difficult to venture into new programs. But I'm aware that in terms of our infrastructure built, some projects that are directed at energy supply will be considered. And those projects will be taken by government, funded by government together with the private sector. And those will be announced by the president as and when everything has been completed in terms of preparation. So yes, currently we are relying much on coal, generation of our energy from coal. And I can tell you that this situation is going to gradually change because of the problem that we have with coal, burning of coal, the emissions that is currently a problem. We're still going to find better technologies that will reduce these emissions, but of course, look into new energy generation models that will be free from these emissions. So yes, we might have not taken appropriate decision at the right time, probably in 2008, to invest more into energy generation. This is catching up with us. But now that we are now dealing with the problem, I'm confident that as a country, we'll get out of this, and this is going to be a problem of the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now move on to Honorable Mukause, who's asking the second supplementary question. Honorable Mukause.
Thank you, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Deputy President, we are still not assured that the intention is not to actually privatize ESCOM with all this restructuring that is happening, especially with the CEO, the COOs, and others who have serious interest in ESCOM as shareholders of companies supplying ESCOM with services, suppliers handpicked, and what so not. Can you assure us as South Africans that whatever that you are meddling with in ESCOM, the intention is to privatize or not to privatize? We want to hear it from the governing party. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Deputy President.
Thank you very much. I think, Honourable Member, it will be incorrect for me to cast aspersions to the administrative leadership of ESCOM that they've got ulterior interests rather than the interests of the country. As announced by the President, that ESCOM is going to be divided into these three entities, subsidiaries, if you want to call it, your generation, your transmission, and your distribution. And we think all these entities will still be under ESCOM, but operate independently there. Their own asset register, they can go on their own to raise money and to deal with their operations. There is no intention right from the beginning, right from the announcement from the President, to privatize. Government is the sole shareholder, majority shareholder and the sole shareholder in this public entity. So this shareholder has got no intention to privatize this public entity. We can be rest assured of that intention and that commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President. We'll proceed to Honorable Mahlangu, who's making comments on the third supplementary question. Mahlangu.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Angithokoze ithuba engilitholako. Sithokoze uzimu nabezimu nabasi pholisele wena sekela mongameli ngilotshise ngokuzithoba okukhulu. Angitsho ukuthi esikufundileko ngabo somabhizinisi abakhulu bangecadi kakhulu abanechisakalo abanachisakalo lokusekela ngemali abasomabubulo abasakhasawo ngezemali. Ngolosibili mhlapha nje yona iveke le umhlonisha ungqongqoshe wezokuthuthukiswa kwabosomabubulo
Honorable of Development. It tried to help those who are.
Pardon?
If you can ask the table there to make sure that there are no disturbances. And on that note, request Honorable Mahlangu to proceed. Honorable Mahlangu.
Honorable Chairperson with the yes, Honorable Chair.
Please proceed.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. My question, therefore, with the statement made above, Kumshengu, Ugutu, what measures will government put in place to ensure that our people and Black companies become beneficiaries of any private funding and funding model for agriculture, including blended financing options for farmers who are beneficiaries of land reform for farming and farm ownership. I hope, Chairperson, I have followed up on the right question, because I raised the hand and indicated that I want to make a follow-up on question number 3, which is number 8, according to the question paper. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Chair, in terms of the order of our questions, we're still dealing with the question on ESCOM.
Yes, sir.
Which is question number 7. We have not started with question number 8.
Well, now,
that on
question number 8,
rural development.
Deputy President.
We are now on question
number 8, yeah. And the main question was from Honorable Smith. The supplementary questions are from Honorable Mabuza, that we have dealt with. The next one is Honorable Mahlangu, which we are supposed to be dealing with now. And the last one is supposed to be Honorable Klute. If you can just go to question 8.
Right. Thank you, Chairperson. I thought I should answer the main question first before taking supplementary questions.
Agreed. What's
great? I haven't.
That's how it should be. That is how it should be.
Can I just, on the point, Chair, the Deputy President is correct. You have taken follow-up questions. So there's a main question on the second question that must be responded to. And I think the Deputy President is in order. We can proceed in that fashion.
On a point of order, please, Chair.
Yes. Honorable members, let's just ensure that we don't get off the rails and move in all kinds of direction. We have dealt with question number 7. And the question number 7, the main question was posed by Honorable Matibe. We proceeded to supplementary questions, and the supplementary questions were asked by Honorable Klute, Honorable Boshoff, and Honorable Smith. We are now on question number 8. The main question there was asked by Honorable Smith. It was supposed to be asked by Honorable Labus Kahne, but there's some changes there. So the first main question was asked by Honorable Smith, and the supplementary questions are 3. Those supplementary questions come from Honorable Mahlangu and Klute. We are now on responses, Honorable Deputy President, from the supplementary.
I'm rising on a point of order, Chairperson. Chairperson, we cannot be confused at the beginning of the session. You have taken a lot of follow-up questions on question number 7, including the one of Mahlangu. That is actually wrong. Can we move according to the sequence of the question so that members who have asked questions on the question paper do not get confused? We're now being confused at the beginning of the session, Chair, and it's incorrect, absolutely incorrect.
There's no confusion.
Person.
We've done question 7. We are now on question 8. We're done with the supplementary questions. from Mkause, and we're now dealing with a supplementary question from Mashangu.
On a point of order, Chair, can I?
Point of order, please, Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Rider, what point are you raising?
Chair.
Rider.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yes, I'm here, Chair. Thank you very much. I'm just waiting for us to come. Chairperson, please, just a case of the sequence of events. Once a question is asked, the question that has been posed to the President in writing must be answered first. As that is being done, the hands that have been raised are supposed to be lowered and a fresh round of hands to be put up and recognized for the next round. That did not happen in this instance, Chairperson. So in order to be fair, as the Deputy President is answering the question that was provided to him beforehand, the process is all of those hands in the right-hand column, the blue hands, the electronic hands get lowered, and then a fresh opportunity is given to members, just like it happens in the House, Chair. If we can ask for that to take place, and then we all get a fair chance to put our hands up in sequence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I'd like to plead with you. Please allow the situation to unfold so that we deal with all the issues. We've done with Honorable Mkause. Honorable Mashangu has raised the question. Can we get the Deputy President to respond to that?
Point of order, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair.
The Deputy President proceed.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, point of order. It's Honorable Smith.
What's the point of order?
Honorable Chair, the Deputy President did not answer the question 8 that was raised by the Honorable Kathy Labuskaghni that I am sitting in for. And then in terms of normal process, the first supplementary question is directed to the member who raised the original question. So I should have the opportunity to raise the first follow-up question, in fact. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to you then, Honorable Smith.
House Chairperson.
Honorable
Chairperson.
Honorable members, I'm not going to allow any disturbance from now onwards.
No, it's not a disturbance. It's a point of order. Chairperson.
Honorable Smith claims that he didn't get an opportunity to answer.
Honorable Chair.
To raise a supplementary question. So I'm asking Honorable Smith to do that.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable
Yes.
Chair, let's assist.
It's Honorable
Yes.
Nyambi.
Oh, you
Honorable Nyambi.
Honorable Chair.
Yes.
The mistake that it's happening, Honorable Deputy President was supposed to start with the question that has been asked by Honorable Labuskaghni and Honorable Smith.
Labuskaghni is not here, and the question is therefore raised by Honorable Smith.
Yes.
That question, let's allow the Deputy President to respond to that question. After that, then we are going to recognize Honorable Smith.
Agreed, Chair.
First allow the Deputy President to respond to that question. Probably some of the members will be covered in terms of the response from the Deputy President. Then from there, we'll start recognizing Honorable Smith as the first person that will be standing for Honorable Labuskaghni. But now, it must be the Deputy President first.
Thank you very much. Let's just do that.
Yes.
Chairperson. Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson.
They must raise their hands. It's a Zoom meeting. They must raise their hands, please.
Yes, no, we should start with that. That's very helpful. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I'm now responding to question 8.
Yes.
Through the government's land reform program, we are taking a very responsible and a measured path of restoration, of redress and dignity for all our people who are the real beneficiaries of their ancestral land. Although there's still much work to be done, which has been compounded by the devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic. We've found the work of the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development to be satisfactory. We are encouraged by the leadership focus and direction provided by the department to ensure that key policy and program interventions are developed and implemented to fast-track land reform. We have no doubt that the repositioning of the department, the overall institutional capacity has improved to ensure that government accelerate land reform. The Minister's response to the National Assembly, referred to by the Honourable Member, provides a historical view of what government has accomplished through the implementation of various policy interventions to advance meaningful land reform. This includes investment that government has made in providing comprehensive farm development support to ensure that acquired restricted farm remains productive. Historically, various assessments and evaluations at national, provincial level have highlighted challenges that have impacted on the productivity of farms. Among others, this includes communal property association governance challenges, alleged corruption in land reform transactions, and inadequate post-settlement support due to fiscal constraint. For the Interministerial Committee on Land Reform and Agriculture, the functionality and productivity of land reform farms remains high on our agenda to ensure that the agricultural sector promotes economic inclusion, increase aggregate production output, and contribute significantly to our desired economic growth. As part of this work, the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development has prioritized a comprehensive assessment of all land reform farms with a view of ensuring that appropriate policy intervention and post-settlement support measures are effectively implemented to enhance the productivity of all land reform farms. Based on the assessment of each farm, appropriate support packages will be designed and implemented to improve functionality and productivity. In this regard, the department has appointed a technical team to undertake this comprehensive work. It is expected will commence this work next month. Given the scope of what needs to be covered, this process may take up to 2 years. It is expected that interventions will be implemented on farms where assessments have been completed. Alongside this, the department has finalized a comprehensive producer-supplier support policy for approval by Cabinet. In terms of this policy, a more targeted and a differentiated approach to supporting various categories of farmers is being proposed. Based on the needs assessment of each farm, it is expected that land reform beneficiaries will be supported in a more focused and effective way. As part of this, coordinated farmer support centers will have to be implemented at district level to ensure that government support services are integrated and made accessible to all farmers. Farmers should always find it easy to access integrated suite of government services. This requires better coordination between national, provincial, and local government. While co-funding for land reform is expected to come from government, it has become clear that the fiscal space is constrained and limited, and therefore private sector capital and partnership are critical pillars for our funding and our financing model for all agricultural projects, including blended financing options for farmers who are beneficiaries of land reform funds. With specific regard to the Eastern Cape province, as alluded to in the honorable member's question, we've been advised that the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, that while challenges remain, a great deal of progress has been made towards supporting all land reform funds. This is an ongoing post-settlement support that is provided by the department in terms of technical support, infrastructure, and mechanism to ensure that farms remain productive and functional. During the 2020-2021 financial year, land development support will be extended to the identified 147 projects within the proactive land acquisition strategy in all 9 provinces. This program speaks to the category of farms totaling 2.2 million hectares, which were acquired by the state and leased out to qualifying farmers with a view of expanding participation in the sector. These farms are on the books of government, and post-settlement support is provided on an ongoing basis. Going forward, all reform farms in the country will form part of this comprehensive assessment process that the department will undertake. All non-productive farms will be prioritized for specific support packages to ensure better functionality and productivity. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much.
I can see you are restless now.
We'll now move on to the first supplementary question, which was supposed to be asked by Honorable Labuschagne, but which now will be asked by Honorable Smith. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, it is quite horrifying that that the President and his government are satisfied to continue with land expropriation without compensation, despite there being, by admission of your department, Deputy President, your own cabinet colleagues, no proof of successful or failing land reform programs due to the absence of evaluation mechanisms of such programs. With 53 billion rand spent since 1994 and 3 billion rand in recapitalization, instead of dealing with what is a clear shortcoming of the department in terms of monitoring and evaluation processes, this government now wants to eradicate property rights to cover up their own failures. Will you undertake today to implement effective monitoring and evaluation systems so that South Africans can be fully informed of whether or not land reform efforts undertaken by this government since 1994 has been effective or not? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Point of order, Chair, before the Deputy President is Kaula.
Yeah, what's the point of order, Kaula?
I actually don't.
Taking chances. I didn't
Yes, Chair.
to speak.
Chair, I actually don't have an icon to raise my hand in my device.
Okay, therefore, so what's your point of order?
I might not be the only one, Chair. So when I raise my hand, it claps, but I'm not actually clapping. I'm raising my hand. Can you please take note of that? I may not be the only one. It may be any of us.
That's not point of order.
Given the situation we're in with these virtual sittings, we're sympathetic, Kaul. Yes, no, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me firstly take this opportunity to condemn the killings of farmers and farm workers, and further indicate that farmers are a very important resource to our country and the nation. We'll continue to ensure that our criminal justice system responds decisively to such criminal acts that undermine this very sector and the economy as a whole. Coming to the question, Honorable Chairperson, yes, we are taking serious steps to assess the productivity of all land reform funds that were given to people that are not productive. I've said so that the department is undertaking this work, and out of that work, we are going to be guided of what needs to. This is intention solely to support these farmers. And we are saying the support that we are going to give to these farmers will be located at districts. We are going to use the district development model where all spheres of government will cooperate, will come together and support these farmers. So it's important to take a view of what went wrong in these farms. There are some farms that are very successful, but that does not mean that we should not broaden participation in the sector, allow new entrants in the form of people that have claimed their land to have access to their land. And we are proposing mechanisms to restitute these pieces of land to their rightful owners. So let us not really confuse these processes. There are farms that have already been restituted. We need to ensure that they are productive, but still we need to open up for new entrances. We are going to support people by availing state land and by ensuring that land that has been claimed by individuals is returned back to these individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Makause, I guess we are covered. We don't want to repeat the process.
Honorable Chairperson, on a point of order. I have never said a word here. And my member who should be on the platform is Honorable Moletsane. Okay. And the point that I wanted to raise earlier on is that don't get confused. I still have question number 10. I did not ask any question.
Okay. So we'll move on to Honorable Moletsane then. The second question, supplementary question, Honorable Moletsane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, the effects of land inequality have been blatantly obvious for decades. More so now during the COVID-19 pandemic, when homeless people and those living in informal settlement were left vulnerable and exposed. As evictions were carried out in the Western Cape, leaving many destitute. Clearly, these land reform programs and agricultural support are inadequate in immediately addressing the needs of the people. What has the Department of Land Reform, Agricultural and Rural Development done during this time that has produced tangible and substantive results in aid of food security? And are you satisfied with the results of therefore? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Mletsane, thank you for the question. I think over years, the land reform program has yielded good results. Of course, when we assessed the progress made, we found some challenges in terms of the pace, the speed at which land gets transferred to their rightful owners. The willing buyer, willing seller approach was found to be very limiting. And therefore, that is why we are proposing this one way of ensuring that land is given back to their rightful owners as quickly as possible. Of course, all the farms that were transferred to people through the land reform program, yes, some of the farms are productive, some of the farms are lying fallow. Hence the assessment that the department is going to make with the intention of trying to improve these farms so that we increase the productivity of the country in terms of agriculture. We must not really confuse this land reform program with probably the evictions that are going on there. We're going to attend to these evictions, and we want to call upon all our farmers out there to be patient with government and the farm workers that are residing in their farms, so that before a farmer can take a decision to evict, let's have a discussion and see how best to deal with the problems of these farm dwellers who might need a place to reside. We have just agreed as government to release land for human settlement. And this is going to happen in all the towns. It's going to happen in all the farms where we think in a certain farm, people need to be relocated to a place which will be called their own place. Government will do that, but that should be allowed to happen by farmers who take the department into confidence and discuss options. It's not very good just to evict people and put them on the road. That is not really welcome. Yes, we agree that poverty is still a problem. That is why we want to increase productivity, want to open more and more space for new entrants in agriculture so that we can produce food for the nation. Thank you very much.
The next supplementary question is supposed to come from Masangu. Can you go to the post again, Masangu? This is 8.
Ngiyathokoza Mqinisihlalo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Angithokoze usekela Mongameli. Ngitsho kodwa ngithi sithokoza uzimu, ngithokoza abezimu nabasiphilisele wena bakuphephisa.
Ancestors who saved you.
Ngikhulumela lokhu ebangeni lePumalanga yonke nabantu bethu bonke beSouth Africa. Njengoba sesiye sakhuluma eqaleni asithi chebechebe sekela Mongameli sixolise ngomraro owenzekile ekuthomeni nasengiza nombuzo lo. Sibe bengikhuluma sekela Mongameli ngaloku esikutholileko sikundlalele ngungqongqoshe we-small business ngaphakathi kwayo indlu le ehloniphekileyo mayelana sabo bomabhizinisi laba abanganako ichisakelo yokuhelebha abosomabhizinisi abasakhakhasawo. Manje umbuzo phezu kwalo Sekela Mongameli Mshengu ithi question yami, what measures will the government put in place to ensure that our people and Black companies become beneficiaries of any private funding and financing model for agriculture, including blended financing options for farmers who are beneficiaries of land reforms for farming and farm ownerships. Ngiyathokoza Sekela Mongameli ngoba siyikomiti yapopulation na izolo besakhuluma ngoba into elathi umraro kubonakala ngathi kiyo yona le 15 billion rand kukhona abantu ababenefitako, kukhona abantu abapharwa ngokuthi ngibo ababenefita ukudlula abanye bamabala amanye la ku challenge khona iBEE. Siyathokoza kumbuso lo okhona ukuthi siyasakhona ukuthi si appropriation committee sabiza i-department yaka agriculture ne department yaka COCTA ne National Human Research Council ukuthi bazosi cacisela and abesizisoli thina ukuya ngendlela sibona ngakhona ukuthi iBEE ipolicy yombuso lo okhona. Angithokoze Mshengu.
Person on a point of order, please.
Deputy President.
Chair, before he continues, can I have a point of order?
Yeah, what's the point of order, brother?
Chairperson, it's actually a point of clarity. If the Honourable Mahlangu can just advise what she means by the phrase "our." No, just to clarify the Deputy President's response. If you can just clarify who she means by.
Please. Please spare us the agony. Not the point of order.
Next week. Right. We'll meet next week.
Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me thank Honorable Mahlangu and for the support that was given to us during our period of illness and the entire members of this House. Thank you very much. Now, with regards to the question, we have got a program called a Proactive Land Acquisition Strategy that I've said the department or government has followed to acquire land. And in that strategy, we've acquired almost 2.2 million hectares. This land is leased to farmers. We are calling upon new entrances. Those who want to farm, they must apply to the department. There's still some farms that are available that can be leased to new entrances. And those entrances, new entrances, will then be supported. Now, there are various options. Of course, there's a grant that they will get from government. And of course, there's a loan that they can get also. That's why we call it a blended finance option. I'm aware that some small farmers have applied during this difficult time of COVID-19 for assistance. And some of them have not get the required assistance they so desire. We are prepared to probably open up again and listen to those farmers. We can direct those farmers to our office of the Deputy President and the office of the Minister. of rural development, so that we can look at all these applications that they've made and see what kind of assistance that we can give. We're doing this because the intention at the back of our mind, we want to increase productivity. The country must produce food. So if we want to produce food, we must support those people that must produce food. So yes, we're willing to hear them and to see how best we can support them. The agricultural sector is one sector that can quickly turn the situation around in terms of our economic growth, trying to get people into employment and move people away from hunger. This is one sector that can turn things around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Now for the last supplementary question, which is the fourth. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. And also thank you to the Deputy President for again acknowledging the importance to attend to farmer attacks and farm murders. I also neglected to say earlier to him, I wish him good health. I also welcome the fact that he basically at the end of the question started speaking about food production and food security. Now, when we look at food or land, we need to see what the relationship between land reform and food security is. Now, a recent study by the Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies warns that land reform now serves to preserve only the well-off. 44% of beneficiaries being urban-based business individuals, former state bureaucrats and local politicians. Only 18% of the farms that the Institute studied were allocated to farm workers, many of whom have left their unsuccessful farms to seek unemployment elsewhere. In fact, data gathered on 66 land reform projects across the country found that land reform has shifted from being pro-poor to being pro-elite. Also, the majority of land recipients have essentially dropped out of production as a result of the number of constraints on their farms. Also, Deputy President, only 1 out of 10 of the total 2.5 million small-scale farmers actually produce surplus food. The rest produce only for household consumption. Now, I'll put the link to the research and study on the chat bar, but history will judge you by your actions towards land reform and food security. Your party persists with the notion that white people stole land, but this study shows it is politicians and bureaucrats who actually keep land from the poor your government promised to serve. Now, my question is twofold. What is government doing to ensure that state food security persists after land is reformed? And what measures have government implemented to ensure that land is not captured by political and bureaucratic elites?
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Klute. I'm very happy about your observation that food insecurity and hunger, poverty still persist. That means the legacy was too deep. The problem that affected farm dwellers, in the main, Black people who are working in the farms, was too deep. Well, we are in the process of trying to address this problem. And of course, this is a journey, it's a very long journey. We are mindful of the hiccups and the challenges along the way. But with this process, with this renewed process, very, very much energized, we want to open access to land, allowing more and more young farmers, young people to enter the sector. We want to allow more and more women to enter the sector. we are starting to see some signs that are not very good in our society of gender-based violence, which probably some instruments to empower women must be put in place. We must also deliberately find a permanent place for farm workers. Farm workers that have been working in this farm for years and years and finally get evicted. So we must find them places where they can settle and have their families there, raise their families there. Of course, in the process, we should allow for small-scale farmers that are producing not for the sake of selling their food. They're just producing for subsistence. They want just to eat. They plow just good enough for them to eat. Now, these kind of farmers need to be supported. We must allay these fears that government wants just to take land from one kind of people, one sector of people to another sector of people. We are trying to redress the problem that was created in the past, but mindful that in that process of redressing, we don't create a new problem. As a country, we are going to foster nation building. We are going to ensure that there's social cohesion. We live together as a country, but that does not mean we should not redress the problems that we have inherited in the past. And we're going to do it in a manner that is constitutional. It will follow the law, nothing that is outside the law that is going to be done. The president has repeated this many a times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now come to question number 9, asked by Honorable Nita. Question number 9 asked by Honorable Nita. Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Chair, I was supposed to ask a follow-up question. I was supposed to
no supplementary questions allowed. Honorable China.
My party, the ANC,
now,
have 2 questions.
Listen first. Now, the first supplementary question was that which came from Honorable Smith. The second supplementary question came from Honorable Mletsani. The third supplementary question came from Honorable Mahlangu. And the fourth supplementary question came from Honorable Kluti.
No, my party, the ANC, had 2 questions. Had the first and the second, Chair. Please check your list in future, Chairperson. It's okay. I know it's okay.
Chairperson, on a point of order. Chairperson,
must work together.
On a point of order, Chairperson.
And honorable members. What's your point of order, Mugause?
Chairperson, we can't be abused here. People mentioning their party affiliation. We went according to sequence, and the sequence is that we've got 4 supplementary questions. If members don't acclimatize themselves with the procedures of the House, that is their problem. They must not tell us.
On a point of order, Chair.
That's not the point of order.
Please.
We will proceed, honorable members, to question number 9. To the Deputy President, asked by Comrade, by Honorable Nita, and Honorable Nita afforded the first opportunity to respond. So the first question is from Honorable Nita, Honorable Deputy President.
My hand is up, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chair, since the confirmation.
Okay, please proceed, Honorable Deputy
Since the confirmation of the first COVID-19 case in the country on the 5th of March this year, this pandemic has spread to all 9 provinces, with community transmission setting in, taking root. When the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern, as government, we immediately took measures to ensure detection, referral, and management of these cases. This called for a better coordination and strengthened response to this pandemic. Therefore, some resources had to be reprioritized to ensure availability of diagnostic, personal protective equipment for frontline workers, and other emergency response supplies, as well as addressing critical gaps in the health and community systems. This included strengthening laboratory networks, supply chains, and community engagement. However, the reprioritization of resources to respond to COVID-19 did not mean diverting resources from HIV and TB. For instance, provincial departments of health have started experimenting with combining TB and COVID-19 screening at some of their locations in the districts in order to ensure continuity of this service. By offering HIV self-screening at COVID-19 screening sites, the Department of Health is able to reach people who would otherwise be missed by the standard HIV programs. Community health workers across the country are screening for the coronavirus while conducting their normal door-to-door HIV and TB monitoring work, such as ensuring that patients are taking their antiretroviral medicine. Our government and its partner donors, including the United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Response and the United Nations Global Fund for AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, are leveraging on the existing resources in order to assist the COVID-19 response. This is done while ensuring that HIV and TB services remain accessible to those who need them. The HIV and TB programs have integrated HIV testing and TB screening into the COVID-19 response programs. The Department of Health sets targets for HIV testing and treatment for those diagnosed and eligible for treatment initiation. The funds required commodities and medicines are based on our annual targets. These funds are ring-fenced through the Schedule 5 conditional grants and cannot be shifted prior to the approval of the accounting officer of the National Department of Health. Therefore, funds for HIV test kits and ARVs have not been reduced, have not been shifted in the current financial year 2020-2021 financial year. As honorable members will know, through the South African National AIDS Council, other departments are also implementing programs that respond to HIV and TB. In this regard, measures announced by the Minister of Finance in the budget readjustment, which was tabled in Parliament in June 2020, clearly outlines government's commitment of ensuring that health and frontline services are not disrupted. Some of these programs and interventions include capacity building of social services practitioners, social and behavioral change programs, including those focusing on men and boys in response to addressing various social ills. During our COVID-19 oversight program, our visit to the Free State province, we witnessed the scaling up of this capacity as we handed out certificates to 92 social workers that the province was appointing to address social challenges that we have referred to above. We must assure our South Africans that despite the impact of colliding pandemics globally, it remains paramount that we put more emphasis to our program of fighting and supporting HIV and TB programs, as much as we are focusing our resources in addressing the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to take our response to the pandemic, to the COVID-19, together with our response to HIV and TB together. It is important that we use our limited resources very efficiently by focusing on targeted intervention and integrating our programs for even greater impact. We call upon our leaders across various sectors of society, political divide, to ensure that the public funds that are allocated for COVID-19 response are not misused and misappropriated. Any acts of corruption will be dealt with as they deny us with the speedy response towards defeating this pandemic. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Honorable Nathan.
Yeah, I've got a supplementary
response.
Mandibulele kakhulu kuwe mhlali ngaphambili obekekileyo, ndibulise kwindlu yowiso-mthetho nakusekela mongameli. Ndibulele nangempendulo ecacileyo andinike yona kumbuzo ebendithe ndawubuza. Kodwa ke ndiyafuna ukubuza nangakumbi sekela mongameli kuba siye saqwalasela ingxubakaxaka phakathi kwabantu abathi bathathe iipilisi zonyango lwesandulela ngculazi, phakathi kwabo kwakunye nabo bathe banelungelo lokubanga umcwangco apha phakathi kwethu, amapolisa ke ukutsho. Ndifuna uqonda ke ngoku ukuba ingaba phakathi kwamapolisa kwakunye naba bantu bebemele ukuyolanda iipilisi zabo zonyango, belikhona na ithuba apho abathe kwacaciselwa abantu ukuba kuza kwenziwa njani? Ngoba kaloku ngelo xesha leli sonke besikumo yonxunguphalo, sivaleleke amakhaya, engekho umntu omele uba uyaphuma phandle. Yaqala apho ke sekela mongameli ingxubakaxaka. So ndifuna uqonda nje ke ngokuba bekuthethwa-thethwenwe njani uqinisekisa into yoba loo nto ayenzeki. Enkosi Sihlalo wendlu yowiso-mthetho.
No, Siyabulele. Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. With the announcement of the lockdown by the President, that necessitated that all of us we stay in one place and ensure that we limit our movements, except for certain categories of people that are responsible to do certain very important work, like your frontline workers, your health workers, that were allowed to do their work in all the provinces. they were supported by your HIV and AIDS, TB workers in each and every province. So we call these workers combined. These are frontline workers, which were permitted to do their work because these are the people that were testing, that were screening, that were following some contacts. And in the process, these frontline workers were allowed to support and assist people with HIV and AIDS, people with TB. I must say, Honorable Speaker, that our figures are showing that the rate of recovery of people affected by TB is showing some improvement. That means people are adhering to their drug, to their medication. They are not really skipping their drug. They are supported by our workers in the different provinces. So yes, as much as all of us were locked down, our frontline workers, our medical teams were out there working. We must take this opportunity to congratulate them. Some of them had to put down their lives for the sake of all of us because they were there screening and testing people. And finally, some were affected by this COVID-19. These are people who love their country, who died in the line of duty. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Deputy President, will now move over to Honorable Dovo.
I've got a supplementary question, Chair.
And who are you?
Vandamela.
Vandamela.
Nkaula.
There can only be 4 people. 4 supplementary questions.
My hand was raised long ago, Chair.
We'll start with the Dodovo. China Dodovo. Honorable Dodovo.
Chair, I was not on the queue for this question. I don't know who's on the queue. It's not for me.
On raise your hand function here in front of me. Your name has been there. I think there's a bit of a problem about coordination. We'll ask the table to really please assist us. So we'll move on then to Honorable Kaula.
Ngiyathokoza kakhulu sihlalo hloniphekile ngibingelele Honorable Deputy President of the country. Honorable Deputy President, funds were redirected to a very important mission of fighting COVID-19. But in the process, the funds that were redirected to COVID-19 were looted. The corruptors corrupted this money. As a result, like you said, our frontline staff in many departments had to be put in danger because some of the unions even considered protest and picketing at the workplace because of shortages of PPEs. All this caused by the fact that funds were looted and corrupted. Now, what I would like to know, Honorable Deputy President, is what is government going to do to ensure that, one, the culprits are arrested, and two, to ensure that the culprits are made to pay back the money that they have corrupted? Not the usual suspensions, Deputy President, not the usual commissions, because they don't bite. Commissions don't bite. Your suspensions don't bite. People go on suspension and they still get paid. And when they come back for DC, it's just a slap on their hand. I want to know from you on behalf of the people of South Africa, how are you going to get this money back and to arrest all the culprits so that they face the full might of the law? Thank you, Mhlonishwa. Siyathokoza ukuthi ubuyile.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. This is a very unfortunate situation that has happened, where as a country we were all getting our energies, facing this very storm. This storm that has taken away lives. We have put everything that we can to fight this. And in the process, money was misappropriated. The president has spoken about this. And the real answer to this, as a country, we must be agile. We must be ready to confront such situation wherever they happen. That means we need to build very strong institutions. In our country, therefore, we need to support your NPA, all your law enforcement agencies. It is important that we support them, we capacitate them to deal with corruption. It is not only, if you look at it, you can say it's only corruption in government. I would say no. Those people who are in government, they live within a society. That means this virus that has attacked those people who are in government, who are working in government, has also infected society. That means corruption is now spreading in our society. Remember that those people who are supplying these PPEs are business people, companies in the private sector. So you can see now that this corruption is now involving the two sectors, the public sector as well as the private sector. Therefore, we need to step up our fight. And the only way to stepping up our fight is to have very strong institutions that can weather the storm. Even in good times and in bad times, those institutions must stand strong and protect the country. And it's quite clear that since the advent of democracy, we've been seeing this element of corruption growing. And this probably presents an opportunity for us really to take time and strengthen this institution so that we deal decisively with corruption. Otherwise, corruption can destroy all the gains we have made as a country and as a nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Deputy President, since the 1st of December 2019, this is the first time I've heard you mention anything about HIV/AIDS, and I thank you for that. We all are aware that there was lockdown, etc., etc. But Honorable Deputy President, on ground level, the story that is painted is completely different. We do our oversight, and speaking to many people that have contracted HIV/AIDS and TB, They have not visited clinics because they're too afraid to contract the COVID-19 as well. And they have not been visited by any medical people like our clinic, nursing staff, etc., etc. This is very, very disconcerting, as these people need to be able to take their medication on a regular basis. They cannot skip. And by not visiting them, they are then forfeiting their medication and putting them, as I said, in a position of danger, if I can use that, and susceptible to other diseases. It's very good to hear from you that you visited the Free State and handed out certificates and so forth. But what I'd like to know from you today, Honourable Deputy President, is seeing that we are in lockdown 2, would you commit today to go out to any area like you've done with handing out certificates to our frontline workers, whom I thank, and visit people with HIV, AIDS, and TB, and to obtain information on how the virus is impacting on them, and share these steps that you will take to assist these vulnerable patients in obtaining their medication on time, together with, at the same time, protecting them against the impact of COVID-19. I thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks to Honourable Boshoff. It might be helpful to get exactly the list of those people that were exposed to Honourable Boshoff, so that they can be assisted. Honourable Boshoff will be aware that as the Department of Health and Government, we are aware that as a country, we have got approximately 7.5 million people who are living with HIV and AIDS. Now, these figures has been confirmed as of March 2020. Now, 5.3 million of these people are already on treatment. That means they are receiving antiretroviral treatment. By implication, it means there's a missing 2.2 million people that are supposed to be introduced, and we took it upon ourselves to go out there and find those people. It is our responsibility as the South African National AIDS Council, the civil society, government, and business to go out there and find those people and introduce them into the treatment. So if you have happened to come across some of these people, please, let's help them, let's introduce them into treatment. There are people that are missing, TB patients that are missing. According to our calculation, we've got 128,000 missing TB people that are affected by TB. So gradually, we are going out there to test people, and we're encouraging people to come forward on their own to go and test. And after testing, if they find that they're positive, they must take treatment. We've got enough medication in our institutions. There is no doubt that all our patients are receiving medication on time because it is available in all our institutions. We have not had a situation where we ran out of medication. especially antiretroviral drugs. They are available. So yes, we are going to go out there. We have got this COVID-19. We're looking at the second wave of the infection. Mindful, we're going to take precautions. We're going to follow the restrictions as announced by government. But the intention is for all of us to go out there and deal with this missing number of people that must be introduced to treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Zandamela. Honorable Zandamela.
No, thanks, Chairperson. Deputy President, considering all allegations of corruption that have surfaced in the Eastern Cape with regard to the allocation and management of COVID-19 relief funds. Now, Deputy President, was it a wise idea to implement austerity measures and redirect funds away from much needed services towards the COVID-19, only for those funds to be squandered? Thank you, Chairperson.
Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thanks to the honorable member. When we took the decision to redirect resources in order to strengthen our fight against COVID-19, we did that in a way of trying to protect our people and to get the health system to be ready to deal with any eventuality. Unfortunately, we never knew that some of these monies would get stolen along the way. But that does not mean the intention to redirect resources to fight COVID-19 was a wrong decision. I still insist it was the right decision, but we must, as government, as a society, as people, we must uproot these elements within society, within government, that are corrupt, because corruption can destroy what is good for the country. So really, we must not be ashamed that we have taken this decision to redirect resources to fight this COVID-19. Not aware that along the line some people will steal these resources, but like we've said, we are going to strengthen our institutions, and we hope all those who have stolen, who have misappropriated these monies, will be found. We are going to strengthen our institutions. We are going to support them with the necessary resources, so that with the necessary human resource, so that they are capable of dealing with the scourge of corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now come to question number 10, asked by Honorable Mukause. Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We want to reaffirm the response we gave during our oral session in the National Assembly on the 25th of June 2020 on a similar question regarding the investigation of allegation against the Chief Operating Officer of Eskom. As stated, we have no basis where we are sitting to doubt the fairness and the integrity of the investigation process as conducted against the COO. The report makes no reference to any hindrance experienced by the senior counsel in carrying out this investigation and in compiling this report. Section 9(3) of the Constitution states that the state may not unfairly discriminate directly or indirectly against anyone or anyone on more grounds, including race, gender, sex, age, disability, religion, etc. That is why the governing party aptly outlined this in its 2019 election manifesto, that amongst its key priorities is to advance nation building and social cohesion by stepping up the fight against racism, sexism, homophobia, and other intolerances that exist in our society. It would be therefore incorrect to suggest that senior executives at ESCOM are protected from disciplinary processes on the basis of their color, of their skin. Let us give space to the board and management of ESCOM to do their work, and at an appropriate time, honorable members of this House would find time to engage with the report and ask the necessary questions that they want to ask. Let us work together and desist from divisive statements which are not contributing to social cohesion and nation building. We have got a responsibility to hold this nation and to build this nation. We further reiterate as government that we remain committed to clean governance, and that is why we appointed a competent, experienced, and capable board, which is expected to effect clear mechanisms to hold all people and the executives accountable in ESCOM. It is our expectation that the board is empowered to run the affairs of that entity in a diligent manner and adopt a zero tolerance for corruption, including any conduct that undermines our efforts of building a financially sustainable energy utility that is orientated to meet its developmental imperatives. As we focus on restructuring ESCOM into an efficient and financially sustainable utility, we are clear that the board and the executive management must put in place the necessary mechanisms and systems that will tackle any acts of corruption, including legacy issues that have contributed to the current state of ESCOM. This includes taking the necessary action through due processes against anyone found to have been involved in corruption. We find comfort on the commitment that was expressed by the CEO that anyone who's found to have done anything wrong, the CEO and the executive, they will act. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Deputy President. Now I follow up a supplementary question from Mukause. Honorable Mukause.
Thank you, Chairperson of the NCOP. Mr. Deputy President, despite interest being expressed and a commitment made to clean up...
All right, the Deputy President answering parliamentary questions there at the National Council of Provinces. Just some important notes I kind of jotted down that came out of that question and answer session. Questions about SOEs, whether or not there are plans to privatize. The Deputy President assuring the nation, saying that this is not going to happen, guaranteeing it. In fact, the issue of land land inequality, also one of the issues raised this afternoon. The Deputy President saying that there are challenges in terms of pace when it comes to land distribution issues. Also saying that government has agreed to release land for human settlement in towns and farms as well.